Maybe you're not confused. Maybe you're misaligned. Maybe the reason the next decision feels so heavy is not because you lack ambition, intelligence, discipline, or gratitude. Maybe it feels heavy because some part of you already knows that the way you've been deciding no longer works. You've made responsible choices. You've done what made sense. You've followed the path, fulfilled the expectations, earned the respect, carried the weight, and made things work. And still, something in you may be asking a deeper question. Not just, what should I do next, but who am I now? What no longer fits? What am I tired of performing? What decision would allow me to move forward without leaving myself behind? That's the question underneath so many career crossroads. And that's the question behind my work. Before Purpose Maker became the title of my forthcoming book, which is Purpose Maker, Deciding with Clarity at a Career Crossroads. So before that title, Purpose Maker was a lived question. Before it became a framework, it was a series of decisions. Decisions that taught me the difference between achievement and alignment. Decisions that taught me the difference between being capable and being connected. Decisions that taught me the difference between what looks good on paper and what feels true inside. And before Purpose Maker became the beginnings of a movement, it became a conviction in me. Women should not have to abandon themselves in order to be successful. So today, before we move into our next solo series, I want to pause and reintroduce you to the work behind my work. What Purpose Maker is, why it exists, why it's more than career advice, and why I believe that at a career crossroads, the most powerful decision you can make is the one that begins with who you truly are. Welcome to another episode of the Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin podcast. I'm so glad you're here and listening to the podcast. I say it all the time, and I will continue to say it. I really appreciate you for listening into the podcast. And if you would continue to help us keep this going, go ahead and rate, review, subscribe the podcast. Tell a friend who's questioning or going through a career crossroad. Pass the word along. And as you've been doing that, you helped us get ranked in the top 5% of all podcasts globally. So keep it going. Tell a friend, tell a friend. All right. So now over the past several episodes, we've been talking about what it means to be at a career crossroads. We've explored why successful women begin questioning their careers, why achievement doesn't always bring clarity. We talked about why strategy alone is not enough and why the signs of misalignment are so easy to override. We also talked about why being good at something is not the same as being aligned with it, and why the deeper work at our career crossroads is not just about deciding what to do next. It's about learning how to come back to yourself so that whatever you decide next can actually feel true. So I'm going to start another solo series, but before we do that in the coming episodes, in this episode today, I want to reintroduce myself. So this episode is a reintroduction, not just to the podcast, not just to the ideas I teach, but to the work behind the work. Because what I'm building through Purpose Maker is not simply career advice. It's not just encouragement. It's not just reflection. And it's not just a set of tips for making your next professional move. Purpose Maker is the title of my forthcoming book, as I mentioned. Purpose Maker is also a framework, proven, repeatable framework. And Purpose Maker is becoming a movement for women who are successful, capable, responsible, and often deeply respected, but who privately know that something in their work, career, life, identity, or direction no longer feels fully aligned. A movement for women who are tired of making decisions from pressure, performance, obligation, or what looks good on paper. A movement for women who want to make decisions from a deeper place, from identity, from who they are, from purpose, from alignment, from self trust, from inner truth. And that's the work behind the work. And that's what I want to talk to you about today, because when a woman comes to a career crossroads, the question on the surface sounds practical. It sounds like, should I stay? Should I leave? Should I start the business? Should I close the business? It sounds like, should I take the promotion? Should I go back to school? Should I change industries? Should I keep doing what I've been doing because it's stable and respectable and makes sense? And those are real questions and they matter. But in my work, I've learned that those are often not the first questions. They're the visible questions. They're the questions people can hear. They're the questions you can put on a pros and cons list. But underneath them, there's often a deeper question. Who am I now? What no longer fits? What am I tired of pretending is fine? What parts of me have I had to silence in order to keep succeeding? What have I outgrown? Even if I am grateful for what it gave me, and what's trying to get my attention, and what decision will allow me to move forward without leaving myself behind. That's where Purpose Maker begins. Most career advice begins with the external question of, what should I do next? Purpose Maker begins with the identity question, who am I now? That difference matters because you can make a smart decision and still make a misaligned one. You can make a strategic decision and still feel disconnected from it. You can make a responsible decision and still feel like you've abandoned something true in yourself. You can choose the impressive thing, the logical thing, the thing everyone understands, and still know privately that it's not the right thing. That's why my work doesn't begin with a resume. It doesn't begin with a job search. It doesn't begin with a title. It doesn't begin with someone else's definition of success. It begins with you, the you beneath the roles, the you beneath the performance, the you beneath the version of yourself that has been holding everything together, the you that may have been quietly asking for your attention for a long time. One of the core beliefs behind Purpose Maker is this: you're not confused, you're misaligned. Now, of course, confusion can be real. Sometimes you really do need more information. Sometimes you need time. Sometimes you need wise counsel. Sometimes you need to understand your options more clearly. Yes, you need all of that. But many successful women are not lacking intelligence. They're not lacking ability, discipline, ambition, or gratitude. They're trying to make a decision from a self they have outgrown. They're trying to choose a next step while still using an old definition of who they are. And they're trying to keep moving in a direction that once made sense, but no longer feels true. They're trying to override the ache, the heaviness, the restlessness, the quiet sadness, the friction, or the sense that something in them is asking for more inner honesty. And that's not always confusion. Sometimes that's misalignment. And when misalignment is the real issue, more strategy is not always the solution. That's why I say Purpose Maker is identity first. Identity first doesn't mean impractical. It doesn't mean you ignore money, or it doesn't mean you change your whole life. It doesn't mean you make reckless decisions because you had a feeling. It means you stop making major decisions without yourself, the true inner you, being in the room. It means you stop asking only what makes sense and you begin asking, what's true in me? It means you stop asking only, what can I do? And you begin asking, what's aligned with who I am becoming? It means you stop asking only, what will people understand? And you begin asking, what can I live with true inner honesty? And that's the heart of the Purpose Maker framework. The framework helped you come back to what I call the purpose parts of you. And I use the acronym YOU in Purpose Parts of You to stand for your own uniqueness, including your passions, your values, your natural abilities, and how you are wired for service. And these aren't random self discovery categories, they're decision making clues. Your passions help you notice what energizes and engages you. Your values help you name what feels significant and important to you. Your natural abilities help you recognize the strengths that come naturally and easily, not just things that you can force yourself to be good at. And your particular wiring for service helps you understand how your life, work, gifts, and story are meant to contribute beyond yourself. Together, these purpose parts of you help you understand what's aligned and what's not. They help you understand why something looks good on paper might feel wrong in your body. They help you understand why a successful role can feel draining. They help you understand why being competent is not the same as being fulfilled. And they help you understand why the question is not simply, can I do this? Sometimes the better question is, can I keep doing this and remain connected to who I truly am? That question is not small. That question can change a life. And I didn't come to this work from a distance. I didn't create Purpose Maker because my career path was perfectly linear or because every decision was clear the first time. I came to this work through decisions. Some decisions were obvious only after I had stayed too long. Some decisions looked confusing from the outside, but made sense when I paid attention to what was happening inside me. Some decisions required courage. Some required surrender. Some required me to disappoint expectations. And some decisions required me to admit that what I had worked hard to build was not the whole story of who I was becoming. I know what it feels like to be successful on paper and still know something is off. I know what it feels like to be in a good role that does not fully fit. I know what it feels like to keep functioning, keep producing, keep showing up, and still feel a quiet disconnect inside. I know what it feels like to wonder why something that should feel satisfying doesn't feel satisfying anymore. And I know the cost of staying too long in a career that requires you to abandon parts of yourself. That's why this work matters to me, because I don't believe women, or anyone from that matter, need another voice telling them to hurry up and make a move. I don't believe we need another formula that tells us to chase the next impressive thing. And I don't believe high achieving women in particular need to be shamed for wanting more meaning, more alignment, more truth, or more wholeness. Many of the women I've worked with have spent years of being responsible. They achieved, they led, they've taken care of people, they've made things work, they adapted, they excelled. And they become very good at doing what is expected, what's needed, what's useful, what's praised, and what's rewarded. But there comes a point when success without alignment starts to feel costly. There becomes a point when the career life that looks good on the outside no longer feels true to them on the inside. There comes a point when the question is no longer, how do I keep succeeding? The question becomes, how do I succeed without losing myself? And that's the woman Purpose Maker is for. Purpose Maker, the book, Purpose Maker, the framework, Purpose Maker, the movement is for the woman at a career crossroad who doesn't need someone to hand her a life script. She needs a way to hear herself clearly again. She needs language for what she's been feeling. She needs structure for what she's been carrying. She needs space to name the real decision. She needs to understand why the decision has felt so heavy. She needs to see what's aligned, what's not, and what the next step needs to be grounded in. And most importantly, she needs to move forward without leaving herself behind. That's why I say Purpose Maker is both personal and practical. It's personal because it begins with identity. It's practical because it leads to decision. This is not endless reflection. This is not sitting forever in possibility. This is not romanticizing purpose while avoiding real life. Purpose Maker is about deciding, and not just deciding once, but learning how to decide repeatedly over and over again in a way that is true to you. It's about learning how to make clear, grounded, purpose aligned decisions from who you are, not from pressure, performance, or what looks good on paper. And that's why the subtitle of my forthcoming book is Deciding with Clarity at a Career Crossroads, because clarity matters, but not the kind of clarity that comes from forcing yourself into a quick answer. Not the kind of clarity that comes from asking 10 people what they think and then choosing the option that causes the least disruption. Not the kind of clarity that comes from fear dressed up as responsibility. I'm talking about deeper clarity, the kind that comes when you understand who you are now, the kind that comes when you can name what matters, the kind that comes when you can tell the difference between a path that flatters your ego and a path that fits your true purpose. The kind that comes when you stop outsourcing your inner authority. The kind that comes when you're willing to be honest about what is no longer aligned, even before you know every step of what comes next. That's the kind of clarity Purpose Maker is designed to help women access. And over time, I've come to understand that Purpose Maker is bigger than a book. The book matters, yes, of course. The book gives language to the journey. The book gives the reader a path. The book helps women understand what may be happening when success stops feeling like enough and a career crossroads becomes impossible to ignore. But Purpose Maker is also a framework. It's a way of seeing yourself. It's a way of understanding the decisions in front of you. It's a way of coming back to your identity, your true self, your purpose, your alignment, and your self-trust when life, career asks you to decide. And Purpose Maker is also becoming a movement, not a loud movement, not a performative movement, not a movement built around telling women to burn down everything or prove something to the world. It's a movement of women learning to make decisions without abandoning themselves. A movement of women who are willing to tell the truth about what no longer fits. A movement of women who understand that purpose is not just something you find. Purpose is something you align with. You align who you are with how you live. You align who you are with how you work. You align who you are with how you lead. You align who you are with how you decide. And when that alignment becomes foundation, your decisions begin to change. Not always in dramatic ways. Sometimes the next right step is quiet. Sometimes it's a conversation, an honest admission. Sometimes it's allowing yourself to explore. Sometimes it's choosing not to pursue something that looks impressive but does not feel true inside. Sometimes it's staying, but staying differently. Sometimes it is leaving. Sometimes it's beginning again. Sometimes it's reclaiming a part of you, a you had pushed aside because it didn't seem practical, profitable, impressive, or easy to explain. Purpose aligned decisions don't always look dramatic from the outside, but they are honest to you in the inside. And that inner honesty matters. Before Purpose Maker became a framework, it was a series of decisions, decisions that taught me the difference between achievement and alignment, decisions that taught me the difference between being good at something and being called to continue it, decisions that taught me the difference between what looks successful and what feels true in me, decisions that taught me how often purpose reveals itself through patterns, resistance, memories, gifts, values, service, and parts of us that keep asking to be brought forward. And that's where we're going next. In the next series, solo series of episodes, I'm going to walk through career decisions I made one decision at a time. Not because my path is the model for yours. It's not. Your path is your path. But those decisions taught me lessons. They shaped how I understand purpose. They helped me see what alignment is and what misalignment costs. They helped me understand why career crossroads are rarely random. They helped me understand why clarity has to begin deeper than strategy. And over time, those decisions became part of the foundation for the Purpose Maker framework. So, in the next series, I'm going to take you behind the framework. I'm going to share the decisions, the lessons, the turning points. I'm going to share the moments of uncertainty, the moments of clarity. I'm going to share the times when I stayed. I'm going to share the times when I left. I'm going to share the times when I had to admit that something no longer fit. And I'm going to share the times that I did not yet have language for what I teach now. And my hope is that as I share those decisions, you'll begin to look at your own decisions differently, not with judgment, not with regret, and not with the pressure to have it all figured out, but with curiosity, because the decisions have been teaching you too. Your path has clues in it. Your story has evidence in it. Your restlessness has information in it. Your joy has information in it. Even your exhaustion has information in it. And your career crossroads may not be an interruption. It may be an invitation to return to yourself, an invitation to make a decision from a truer place, an invitation to stop performing a version of success that no longer fits, an invitation to become the woman who can trust herself with what comes next. That's the work behind my work. That's the heart of Purpose Maker. And that's why I'm so committed to helping high achieving women make clear decisions from who they are, not from pressure, performance, or what looks good on paper. Because you don't need to find a perfect path. You need to make the next honest decision. You need to know what it is grounded in, and you need to understand who you are now. And most importantly, you need to move forward without leaving yourself behind. So, as we begin the next series of episodes, I invite you to listen differently, not just for my story. Listen for the questions beneath your own story. Listen for the decisions that have shaped you. Listen for the places where you overrode yourself. Listen for the clues that have been present all along. And listen for the part of you that may already know more than you have allowed yourself to trust, while keeping in mind Purpose Maker is a book. Purpose Maker is a framework. Purpose Maker is becoming a movement. But at the heart of it, Purpose Maker is an invitation to decide with clarity, an invitation to align with purpose, an invitation to come back to yourself at the very moment when life, career is asking you to decide. That's what this work is. That's why it matters. And that's where we're going next. Thank you for being here and listening to this episode of Leadership Purpose with Dr. Robin. I really appreciate you. And until next time, this is Dr. Robin.